All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since I've done this show. So long that I deleted the intro thing, but I'm very excited to have my guest today. But I want to explain the show a little bit first. So I don't know if you've ever been Rickrolled, but I'm going to start a new, different kind of Rickroll, and it's going to be release your inner creative kraken. That's right. So that's your Rickrolled RYIKK. Yeah. So the Kinks did it. They put K's for C words and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it looks like we might get a little release. There we go. So we're on LinkedIn. We're going to see, and we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So hopefully you'll be joining us there. If not, you can catch us on the replay. So I just want to introduce our guest. So this is Spontaneous Combustion, events for disruptors by disruptors. And we talk to authors who are either published or soon to be published. We talk about their creative process. And of course, they get to promote their book because that's what we're all about. Oh, wow. You know who's on? Do you remember Anna Ramiro? Anyway, she's the Spanish version of Growth Academy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, hola. Anna, how you doing? Yeah, she's awesome. She's an awesome person. Anyway, we're speaking English, but she speaks English probably way better than I speak Spanish. So I've been trying. That was one of my commitments. Anyways, let's take this logo off and we'll get started. So this is Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark, as you can see in the background, Here Are These Truths. In a second, I'll let him introduce himself. Here Are These Truths. It's coming out June 2nd, right?
3rd.
Oh, sorry. June 3rd, which is Friday. Is that Memorial Day week?
No, it's the weekend after.
Oh, okay. So anyways, June 3rd, Here Are These Truths. And guess what? If you buy it beforehand, and we'll share that information later in the show, if you buy beforehand, you'll get an autographed copy, and then it's free shipping too, right?
Yeah, and
I can't remember.
And you get a coin. You get one of the free coins, man.
I get a free coin? Because I am one of the people who
limited edition.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I only bought like 100 of these, man. So I'm only giving them out just for this book, and then I'm going to redesign it for like the next one, or for like my own personal coin or something like that.
Hey, your sound's kind of funky. Is that on my side or your side?
I don't know. I can hear you.
Okay. Well, no, but you kind of like your mic. I don't know. We'll fix it. We'll get it fixed. Anyways, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I've known Jeff for 2 years, year and a half, somewhere around there. Probably. And I call him my North Star because Jeff's more organized than me. So and so he'll set a goal, and then he'll start doing something. And then what's weirdly enough, we have very similar goals. So I'll either have it before him or after him. Actually doesn't matter. He starts it. He starts the actions. He starts getting it done. I always get advice from him on like different like webcasting, editing software, all that kind of stuff. And so then he does it before me. And so I think I started writing my book before you. Mine's not out yet. I'm going to put it out as an ebook, and then there's going to be two completely different versions, an ebook and then a regular one. And it's because when my editor looked at it, he was like, this should really be this kind of book. And so I have to it's like a whole rewrite. So it'll be basically two books with the same name, with the exception one will say ebook version and one will be whatever. So let's get started with, why don't you, so what I like to do, to release your inner creative kraken is I really want to encourage creators out there or people who want to be creators. And my areas that I focus on for this show, it's writing, obviously. I have another show which is around music and just learning to live your life around that. And then also do films and video. But this one's about writing. So if you want, you can say anything about yourself, but kind of in the arc, talk about why you wanted to write your book, how you got here. Hey, Andrea Koppel's here. That's awesome. All right. We'll put Anna's up there. Hi, Anna. I just do that weird thing where you wave. And then Andrea Koppel From Maryland, that's right.
Yeah.
And Anna's in, Anna, donde está usted? I used to know. It's a Venezuela? No. Anyways, it's South America somewhere. Anyway, she'll tell us if she's still on. So sorry about that. But Jeff knows me, so he knows Mark will come back. I know he's coming back. You started a
You're
thought,
right.
and then let's come back there. Okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah. And this will take as long as it takes. I really haven't, for the reforming the show, I don't know. We can take between a half hour, however much time you have. It's all about promoting your book and promoting the creative process. And then in this case, writing. So just tell about the arc, a little bit of your history. And then within that arc, if you can kind of, glean the little steps and the little instances that led you to, I want to write a book, and then writing it. So I will be quiet now.
I would say years ago when I was still on active duty, I was like, I should write a book. Like I like the idea of getting some of this stuff out of my head. And at the time, podcasts weren't that big. So it was like, that rush of young people or, kind of amateur folks, young entrepreneurs going to the podcast platforms. It didn't exist. Podcasts for like, the big time people. And I thought, well, I could write a book and I could even self-publish if I wanted to. And I kind of worked on it and I tabled it. And then I went through a transition period where I got out of the military. I went back to work for the government in the civilian service. And in 2019, I was the Air Force Civilian Supervisor of the Year. And that's when I said to myself, this is recognition from big Air Force all the way down, from the Pentagon down, saying you're one of our top leaders. And to me, that meant
what was that again?
lot.
That was like a mouthful. Air Force Representative.
Air Force Civilian Supervisor of the Year.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I took that as kind of a sign that I needed to do more with my I don't want to say talents, but like kind of that momentum that I had going for me. And I really wanted to share a lot of the lessons I had learned through people, because I didn't win that award on my own. It was a Supervisor of the Year award, which meant I supervised a lot of people underneath me, did awesome work that I got to take, credit for. I got to be recognized for. So their successes kind of fell on my shoulders and on my plate, and I got to take some of the credit. Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. So I really said I should write a book about the lessons I learned and kind of how I got here. So I can kind of give some public kudos to the people who helped get me here. Because a lot of times, when you win a big award or you're recognized or you get all the attention or something like that, it's because a lot of people behind the scenes got you there. And I just said I should really do something with this other than just hang the trophy on the mantle,
right. I want to stop you for a second.
Sure.
All right, listeners out there, I know it's Andrew and Anna, but people are going to be watching this on the replay. That if that's not the number one, it's in the top 5 lessons of what a leader is. To hear what he said, he earned this big, huge reward. And I don't care what you're saying. I don't care what you care about the military or whatever. That's a big, giant award. And his first thought is, I didn't get here by myself. That also kind of makes me responsible for sharing stuff that I learned because I can help others. That's a leader, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'll get back. Thank you. And that's that was a big part of why I did it, was I felt like, and now let me give you a little more context. A lot of the people that helped me win that award won their own smaller awards along the way.
Yeah.
So my unit and my people were really, they were recognized too. So I don't want to make it sound like I took all the credit. Like, they had some little wins. They just didn't get all the way up to the level that I did.
Right.
But I still felt like they earned that award too. It wasn't just me. So not only when I accepted it did I give them kudos, but I just really said, they may not ever see it. They may not ever read the book or anything like that. That's fine. Yeah. But it's the principle. It's the principle of it. I did it because I wanted to share what I had with other people, and kind of tell my story, how I went from kind of nothing to something. And it was all because I was humble.
Yeah.
I was truthful, I was honest, and I kind of put service before self. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to accept that award just because Jeff is awesome and just leave it at that. I wanted to give context
Oh,
to
you
it.
had to say that word, didn't you?
And
Now I got like Tegan and Sarah going through my head from the Lego movie. Everything is awesome.
yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that was kind of why I did it. And then kind of like you, I started writing it, and then I kind of got an editor, and they said, "Hey, this needs a lot of work. Here's some things to do." I was like, "Okay, I've never written a book before.
Right.
Fiction is or nonfiction is hard to write without sounding like you're beating your own drum."
Right.
And
Well, especially if it's, would you consider this like in the self-help category? Because that's what he pushed me to put my book in, and I'm like, really?
yeah, that
Yeah. So
self-help,
it does
that
sound, it does
leadership,
make, I know
that
what you're saying exactly.
I'm an expert here. Listen to me, kind of beating
Yeah.
the chest. It's it can come across very holier than thou. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I wanted it to be very humble, very, hey, this is kind of how I did it. Hey, this is how I see things important as a leader. And here's some of kind of my quotes, my best practices, my little tips and tricks. Use what you want,
Right.
kind of thing. And that's why I built the algorithm of, effort plus process equals progress. And that's kind of how I chopped the book up. So I kind of did it in 3 phases, and I just said, hey, if you focus on these things, you can do it too.
Cool. So the award, I hate the word humility because people misinterpret it, but the humility, wanting to reward others, and then you did what, by the way, so there are so many lessons in what he said. So one, good leaders acknowledge the people that helped them get there. And the number one lesson is you don't get there by yourself. Even if you're a jerk of a leader or whatever, nothing you accomplish happened based on you. There's very few, if any, that I can even think of where it was just a cult of personality and they pushed it all through. So that's a good lesson. And then he said that this is his first attempt at a book, and he went and brought it to the editor. And editors, you got to love editors. There's good editors and there's bad editors, but they all come back to you and go, hey, there's some stuff. By the way, I've written probably 4 books. Only one of it has been published in any manner, and never have it come back from the editor without any, hey, it needs a lot of work. So,
oh yeah.
But yeah, so that's a cool path. See, so and by the way, I mean, another lesson that I always am harping on, we all have a story. And I believe everyone sharing their story, because, my big thing is living your best life creates a better world for everyone. That's my trademark. Well, not quite yet. It's in the last stage in the trademark office, but so I'll have coffee cups and everything, because Jeff taught me that too. You haven't seen his coffee cups and his coins? Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, there's so many lessons there. In fact, I'm gonna probably do a best bits of this and just like cut up and give you like little segments and say, acknowledge people to live. The editor said this. I don't read my book for the first time. And just anyway, cool. That's cool. So what is the most, not pride, but what are you going to get the most out of editing this? I mean, not editing, publishing this book. I mean, it's really close. Forget about the numbers, because that's one of the things I hate about like LinkedIn and some other platforms, and they're all like, oh, it's all about the numbers. I've got 1 million followers. Aren't I great? In fact, I did a post on that. I'm like, it's not about the numbers. It's about sharing. It's about helping others. It's about connecting. Even the person that only connects with 10 people, if they affect one person, and the person has 1 million followers, don't affect anybody just because they're a bunch of glamons, then
yeah. Those
what are you most excited about?
Vanity metrics.
Yeah.
I think I'm most excited about just the accomplishment. I'm publishing a book. You'll be able to go on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and look up my name. I think just the accomplishment of it is something that not for my ego, but my kids all know, my family all knows, my friends all know. It's a big accomplishment, and I hope that one, it sets the kind of the standard for my kids. And my oldest son has already mentioned something like it's really hard to catch up to you. And it was like, well, listen, don't try to catch up to me. But just look at some of the things that I've done and tell yourself you can do them too. So for me, it's really about that. It's about kind of being the kind of the representative, that person to look up to. Like, if I wrote a book, so can you.
Yeah.
So take my accomplishment and understand what you can do with yourself. So
Yeah.
it's the principle of the matter of being published, where what, I'm a guy from nowhere, Oklahoma, who joined the military, who became a civilian supervisor of the year, and who published a book. If I can
Yeah.
do that, other people can do it. You just have to have the patience, have the tenacity, and have the determination, and you can do it as well. So, I don't care if it sells 50 copies or 5 million.
Right.
I hope that it just tells other people it can be done.
Yeah.
And
Well, near the end, you were going through some rough times, right? I mean, you still pushed through.
yeah,
You talk about that. I mean, I don't know if you want to. That's personal stuff, but
well,
I think there's a good lesson there.
Yeah, my wife wasn't living at home because she was in school, and we were separated. I was living in Colorado. She was back here in Oklahoma still. Um, I was having trouble with my second oldest son. He has autism, and we kind of got that diagnosis, and he was going through some tough times. So, trying to finish a book, have it edited, go through the publishing process, which is a long process. I signed my contract almost a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
So it takes a while to get it done. And just to go through all that, we moved back home to Oklahoma, bought a new home, moved in, and all that stuff while I was in the middle of editing. Then I lost my editor because she bailed out. She had some personal things in her life. She couldn't dedicate time to the book. So I had to get a new editor, and that pushed back graphic design, cover design, and all that stuff. So it was just kind of one of those things where I had to say, I'm not a super religious person, but I kind of just said, there's a plan. There's a plan for this, and it's happening for a reason. And I try not to get mad or frustrated, and I just try to go with the punches. And it turned out, it was supposed to release in April. It's releasing in June, but we had a couple of hiccups, and I think it's probably for the better. So
usually is,
and it's a long haul. Doing a nonfiction book is a long haul. A fiction book you can kind of get people to grasp onto. It's a storytelling thing, blah blah blah. But nonfiction is kind of a grind. You've got to sell it over a long period of time. People got to get to know you, and you have to sell them on you.
Well, are you planning on doing like any lectures or like training or stuff? Because a lot of people do that, especially with self-help. It's circular. So you release the book, you sell as many as you sell, then you have your other service, and then you kind of give that as like a loss leader. Then more people read the book, more people take the course, and then it kind of feeds each other. We're talking Tony Robbins here. Jeff Clark, the teacher Tony Robbins.
I don't want to do training. I don't think I really want to do that.
Okay. But I mean, anything, lectures or book.
Yeah, I want to do some public speaking. I think that's a little more effective. Nothing against the Tony Robbins and those guys out there, but I feel like, to me, they glamorize an event.
Yeah, you didn't have to do it in his style, but I mean, there are.
And I'm not that kind of person. I don't think I'd do well on stage trying to sell something to people. I think I could stand up there. I could public speak. I could give a speech that's motivational, but so I'm going to do some of that. I have a couple of those things booked already.
That's good. Like a TED Talks or something, or
some private stuff. Coming and speaking to a couple of companies, a couple of organizations, and giving them some books and doing some fun stuff like that. I'm doing some more podcasts. I'm developing mine a little bit more in this second year. So yeah, we've got a couple of things in the works, and it's really just about kind of keeping yourself out there. And the book is just another tool on your bigger platform to say, hey, you want to find out more about me? I got a book, I got a podcast, go
Right.
check out my blog. I've spoke, go check out my YouTube. So,
Right.
I told somebody the other day, I said, if you're not taking your YouTube live streams and turning them into a podcast, you're missing a whole other audience. So,
And in that, he's speaking to me.
No, but it wasn't just you; it was someone else the other day.
No, I know.
And but it applies to YouTube, brother. I mean,
I know. I have at least 100 videos on YouTube through my 5 shows, and none of them are podcasts.
So
I need to convert.
Yeah, you could totally do it into one podcast with just different episodes, like type of series or something. That's a whole nother audience, and so it's really what it's about is kind of getting out there and exposing yourself as not just an author, but as a writer. There's other projects I want to do too in the writing world, and it's not necessarily just nonfiction. So you got to just kind of keep grinding at it.
You could be the new well, he died, but Kyle Mills, you know who that is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you could do those kind of books. Those are awesome.
I got a couple fiction books in the works. I kind of want to go that Tom Clancy-ish route, because Clancy wrote a lot of fiction, but he also did a lot of nonfiction while he was doing research for his fiction books. So I kind of want to go do some of that too.
Well, kind of be in the middle. I don't like Tom Clancy. I mean, not personal. I don't like his writing because, I can't remember what book it was. The first book was awesome, Red October, Hunt for Red October. Then the second book was okay. And then the third book, by that time, was like, I feel like I can now design a nuclear bomb after reading this book, because it's so technical and detailed. And I just kind of like to go, I want enough to know that I know to me, one of my favorite writers, Michael Crichton, who also passed. So
I love him.
But he did enough research, but then it was all involved in the storytelling. And he freaked me out. He wrote one called Airframe.
Yep.
Friends of mine, was I working at Boeing? I don't know if I was working at Boeing at the time, but if you read that book, even take the murder mystery part out of it, but everything else, holy crap. That is the way the aerospace industry is, and the union. He got everything right. The union relation with, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, I like Michael Crichton. I like John Grisham too.
Yeah.
Love John Grisham. Cool. So I want to do some fiction, but I want to kind of do some nonfiction alongside it. To kind of lend to some of the research I did. Because I think what Clancy did was really, really smart, and he kind of gave himself a new audience by going into nonfiction. And saying,
he's good. I just personal preference.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, his books are long. I mean, there's a book on my coffee table right across the screen here that is almost 800 pages long. And that's a long novel. That's a long.
Well, he dives deep.
Mm-hmm. He does. And it's not for everybody, but I like what he did, in his career.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I admire him. When I say I don't like him, it's not I don't like him as a person. It's like I don't like where he went with his novels. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
If I wanted to read technical publication, I would. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people obviously, he's got video games and series, everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll never get to that. But I mean, what he did, kind of crossing genres and getting that different audience to come over and back and forth was pretty smart.
Well, I'll never say never. I mean, you're not aspiring to that, but it could happen. You never know. But I mean, one of the things I kind of want to, not to interrupt, but also highlight, is if everyone noticed all the things, not taken away from what happened, but that's life. Things happen in Jeff's life, and he kept moving forward. So guess what? Crap happens to all of us. So it's not the crap. It's what you do with the crap. It's like, okay, that's life. I got to deal with this. Da, da, da. I mean, like me, I'm still working on my book and my live stuff, and due to our fabulous government, where they didn't grandfather different tax laws, I owe the IRS a lot of dough. Because I invested with the understanding of one legal thing, and then they switched it after I did it, but then they didn't grandfather it. It's like, well, no, that's happened. Sorry. We're going to reverse that back a year and a half. I'm like, oh! Anyway, but I'm not complaining. It's just it's like, whoops. So by Halloween, I'll be free. You got a plan in place. Well, no, that's really cool. So you're back in the same place with your wife. By the way, I mean, I'm probably not as severe as your son, but I am afflicted that way as well. We can't really. The world is now saying you probably shouldn't say on the spectrum because it's. I can't remember why, but so I'm not going to say that anymore. But yeah. So I mean, that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think it's more so. It's not really a challenge for him as much as it is for everybody else around him.
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to understand how his world works, and
Correct.
because something about autism, and I'm by no means an expert, so nobody.
No, and no one is really. To be
what
honest.
I understand about it, and from what I've read and done research on and talked to some experts, is folks with autism don't change. Their world fits in this tiny little box, and they do it over and over and over again. It's just kind of how they operate.
Yeah.
And if you expect them to change their behaviors and their patterns and things like that, you're going to be fighting a losing battle. So
Right.
what you have to do is you have to play this kind of the psychological game. And as frustrating as it is for me to tell my 16 and a half year old son to take the trash out every Wednesday morning like he's supposed to, I have to remind him. I have to. He will.
You have to give him the space and time.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does the world not change, you have to give them the space and time.
Yeah. You
to
have to
figure out their world.
Yeah.
Once they figure it out, then it's kind of locked in. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why I love my parents. My parents gave me the space. They didn't go the drug route. They didn't put me in special ed. They just go, okay, figure it out. I mean, they were loving and supportive. It sounds like.
Sure.
They dumped me in the deep end of the pool when I didn't know how to swim. Well, actually, they did.
Well, we didn't. We haven't done that for my son either. We've kind of instead of putting him into special education, we got him teaching help. We got him an aide that goes into the classroom and checks in on his homework and kind of fosters that relationship between teacher and student. More so for him so that he can get things accomplished and done. He still has to own the process, but it's kind of that constant reminder of, oh yeah. So we've done things like that. We did put him on a medication, but we've played around with the medications and found what we really felt optimally works for him, what makes him feel good. And it's more so a change in me and my parenting style, because my other kids, it's like, listen, I shouldn't have to remind you. You should remember. It's on the chore chart. You should remember. But for him, it doesn't matter. It can be written. It could be tattooed on his forehead. He'll look in the mirror every morning and see it, but it won't necessarily register. And it's just understanding that in the world that he lives in and operates in.
Yeah.
So,
really people don't get
for him.
Most people, well, not most people. A lot of people think, I can't use that word anymore either. A lot of people think that we of this affliction are either stupid or slow, but it's the opposite is true. It's not that less comes in; it's everything comes in.
Exactly.
And the only way we can survive is we do. Each person's different, so I mean, you might see some autistics have body tics and all that kind of stuff, and some just will ramble or whatever. That's a coping mechanism because everything's coming in, and you got to manage information. Just imagine if you had no filters.
Yeah,
exactly. Extreme autistic child. That's what's happening. Everything's coming in. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And to survive, they got to go. I got to do something.
I've explained it to people by saying, listen, you know how sometimes when you feel like your world's running 1,000 miles an hour and you're kind of spinning out of control and you just want the brakes to hit so you can slow down?
24/7.
That's what my son is 24/7. He has no brakes. He can't pull the e-brake. He can't hit on the master brakes. Nothing happens. Like getting the world to slow down so he can operate inside that tiny box efficiently. That's the challenge. It's not that he's dumb. It's not that he can't remember or anything like that. It's just that his brain is wired to process everything, no matter how important or how irrelevant. Yeah. And he can't differentiate. He can't say, well, this is important and this isn't as important, so I'm going to not worry about this. He can't prioritize. So he's not an extreme case. I think he's a level 2, not quite a level 3.
Right.
He can function on his own. He can do a lot of things on his own, but he needs a constant reminders for certain things. Everywhere from brushing his teeth down to taking out the trash on Wednesdays like he's supposed to. He just needs that reminder, and then he can do it. So it's not that he's not dumb at all. I mean,
no, most are very intelligent.
He struggles to get his homework and stuff like that turned in, but when he does his work and does it well, he does A's and B's.
Right.
Smart kid, super smart kid. It's the process of getting there, so
well, my analogy always is, I mean, if you take smartphones and social media, I go, do you know anybody? And it might be you that has a smartphone or some other electronic device, and every time it dings, they have to go look at it. They can't. It's an addiction. Well, guess what? We have no choice. That's our life. That's how we process everything.
Yeah, so, exactly. Anyway.
So, I mean, so life happens. Mm-hmm. There's heavier stuff and lighter stuff, but life happens to all of us. And just take Jeff's example. I mean, he's given lots of good examples. This is a master class right here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're watching on replay or watching now, we have a couple of lurkers that aren't commenting anything. By the way, when I was looking to the side, I was just checking. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on LinkedIn. And the closed captions only working on Facebook for some reason. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook does that well. YouTube usually does too. LinkedIn, you just have to enable it, and then other people, if they have something. When I become more wealthy, I will actually hire a service to do it, because I really believe you got to have access to everybody. Mm-hmm. So here are these truths. I'm gonna get mine. So when will I get it? It's gonna be published on the June 3rd, but when will people get it when it's shipped? Like the next week or something?
So I don't know. I know that I need to have. I place my order from my books that I'm giving away to people. That should come the week of the release, and then hopefully they'll start shipping that on release day to people. So I'm really hoping that all the pre-orders and all that get here before then, and then I'm going to sign them all, package them all up, and then I'm hoping to have them all out in the mail by release day, if not earlier. It just depends on when I get the books from the publisher, and because they have to order them from the printer. So hopefully, I hope I have them by Memorial Day weekend, and I can just hammer them out Memorial Day weekend, box them up, and then, they're ready to ship, and I can have them there on that Friday. That would be ideal.
Cool. And I know you're going to sign them all the same, but if you weren't, you could say, Mark, you're the awesomest dude on the face of the planet. No, just
yeah. No, I'm going to, for those that pre-ordered it, I'm going to try to personalize it a little.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Don't call me the awesomeness. I actually hate that.
If you got your pre-order in, then yeah, absolutely. It's going to be on there.
Yeah, I like who designed the cover. I like it. It's simple, but kind of says it's very clean.
I kind of designed it, not that exact design. I kind of did something along it in Canva. I had a couple of different ideas kind of mocked up, and I was like, hey, this is kind of what I had in mind. Give this to the graphic designer and let them give me some options. And I said, I'd like 3 or 4 options. I kind of like to stick to this color scheme potentially, because it kind of goes along with my branding that I have on my website. But, I'm open to, recommendations or anything like that, because what I think looks good might not look good in the eyes of the publisher, who has the eyes of the consumer in mind. So this design that you see, and you can't quite see the gray lines in here that are along here, but I had something similar to that along the top edges and the bottom, and kind of the same layout that you see here. I had a little more color to it, and they kind of turned it around a little bit. And the first design was blue with gray lines, and you couldn't really see it that well. And I just didn't feel like a blue cover was a little too dark for me, even with the white lettering. So I said, let's mix it up. What if we flip flop the colors and we did a darker blue and we did, the gray lines and kind of the white? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And then that's what you see. We tweaked it a little bit
Yeah.
because the gray lines weren't showing up, and you don't see it very well here, but on the actual physical copy, it'll look good.
Yeah. So just take that as a lesson to future authors. There's more to it than just writing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. You got to format it to the page and design the cover.
They did all that.
Get a public. Oh yeah. I would never do that myself.
Yeah, no.
In fact, that's what I'm waiting. That's what the ebook's waiting for. Because originally I was just gonna put it out in PDF, and then I looked at it, and then I looked at another ebook, and they have graphics and cool stuff and paginated different. All right, well, I'm gonna hire someone to do that.
Yeah, I didn't have a say in the design of the inside.
Yeah,
and I kind of wish I would have, but and that's not a knock to my publisher or anything, because they did a great job. What they did to the inside of the book, I was like, oh, I don't think I could have told them to do that. I mean, they crushed it with the way they designed the inside. So I'm glad that they did it the way they did. I wish I would have had a bit of a say in it, but kind of in a way, I'm glad I didn't, because they did a way better job than I would have. So
yeah, we'll give a shout out to them.
Yeah, so yeah, shout out to Chris Schaefer and Tactical 16 Publishing. They're in Colorado. They're awesome. They're doing a great job. If you're a veteran, you're in law enforcement, you're any kind of first responder, they want to hear from you and tell your story. So that's kind of who they focus on, is that military, first responder, law enforcement type of folks, giving them a voice and a therapeutic voice, so you can write, get some therapy out of it, because writing is really good therapy. And they publish your words without really changing them a lot. And I think that's awesome, because this is what you're going to read in this book is pure me. This isn't an editor coming back and saying, don't say that, change the way you said this or that, it's not politically correct or anything like that. It was none of that. It was strictly a grammar and, hey, let's make sure this is readable, so somebody understands what you're saying, type of thing. So they changed very little of my words. So this is like 95 to 98% strictly my original work.
And that's because he's a very strategic thinker and logical and flow, whereas my editor, well, Mark, you rambled on, and you also used, I remember my the first novel I wrote, in one page, I used cherry for 3 different meanings. Like there's a police car there, so I used that cherry red flashing, and then this guy had a really cool car in pristine condition, so I said there's cherry. And they're like going, you can't use the same word for 3 different things. I know we use it in language, but if you do that, especially that close together, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and just little things like that. Because I've learned, I learned a lot writing this from reading other people's books and having people kind of test some pages and saying, I don't understand this.
Right.
Like, oh, okay, here's what I was meaning to say. And, oh, okay. Hey, say it more like this so I understand. Okay, cool.
Right.
And it was a lot of that. It was changing it. And, I've written 3 novels, but, I wrote 3 novels, whatever you want to say, but I have
not an editor, so I'm not going to criticize.
I haven't done anything with them yet, because those were kind of like the practice rounds. Those were the pre-games,
right?
And the book that I'm currently working on is full of all the tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts, the lessons I've learned from other people, reading their writing and studying. I went and reread, Michael Crichton books, a couple John Grisham books, a couple Clancy books, a couple of my other favorite fiction authors, and I just studied the way they wrote and how they used words and spacing and pacing.
So is the second one going to be nonfiction or fiction?
Yeah, so hopefully my second book will be fiction. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, so working on that now. Again, it's taking on a different life form, because a year ago it was 65,000 words of probably I wouldn't even self-published it, but now it's like 105,000 words, and 80,000 of that is fine-tuned work I'm proud of. that I think I could hand over to an editor and have an easier time editing that, and my
Right.
point would get across and the story would be able to be followed because I've gone over it a million times. I've had some friends read it, and I've had some favors called in for some other authors and some editors, and I think if there's anything people take away from this show, it's that it's okay to say I have a product that needs to be worked on, and then
Yeah.
work on it and just keep working on it and learn from other people and just keep grinding it out because my podcast isn't super super successful. I don't have thousands of people
Right.
reaching in, but I constantly have new listeners, and
Well, and you're doing it.
yeah, and I'm doing it. And my first
Yeah.
couple episodes were horrible. I mean, I re-recorded 3 of them.
Really?
I called the guests back and I said, "Hey, my bad. Whenever you have the time, let's reschedule. Let's redo this because I screwed up." And they all said, "Hey, cool, man. Understand. Technology issues. It happens." And they all did it, and they were all great people. So it was the point of doing it.
Right.
And it's grown, and I get new listeners, and I still, even on days where I don't advertise it well, I still have listeners. So people are out there listening to it. They want to. So it's just a point of doing it and just having fun with it. You do that too. You with your different shows. It's
Yeah, I
it's
gotta
the
keep
point
going
of doing it. But I love what you're doing with the music and stuff, man. I really do. I wish I could have tuned into the Ice Cube one you did the other day.
Watch on replay. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Okay.
that, so here's a friend of mine, Wayne Gabriel, says, "Good time, guy. Good. I can't even read. I can write, but I can't read. Good content, guys. I like the thoughts behind some of them. Every podcast has to start somewhere and grow from something.
100%.
So, yeah.
100%.
Wayne's a buddy of mine. Works for Paramount Plus. Is it called Paramount Plus? No, Paramount Plus is there. Anyway. But what I was thinking when you were saying about your podcast, I can't remember who posted it. I think it's Gary Vee. And he, how he does those little cartoon things. And so it was a cartoon thing, if I remember correctly. And it was talking about podcasts and all that. And basically the premise of it was that if you have a podcast and you believe in it and you would listen to it, it doesn't matter if you have any listeners. Eventually you will. Just keep doing it for you.
It's true.
Which is not to say, then on the flip side of that, like when you were talking about writing, you got to learn from others and hone your craft. And then what I've noticed, music and writing, video and film, for some reason, I don't really take personally when someone like mocks me or trolls me or give me a bad review. But for some reason, my writing and my music, if someone's like super critical, it feels like they're like sharpening up pencils.
Yeah.
You can't really take it that way. You got to let go ego.
Yeah, well, it's a little more personal. Like my podcast is focused on bringing guests on and them talking about themselves.
Mhm.
So if somebody doesn't like my podcast, I could really care less. It's like, well, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it to bring people on, to give them more exposure to a new audience and to more people to help promote their product
Right.
and themselves. That's the whole point of my
Well,
podcast.
kind of like this episode. It's all about you, man.
Yeah, so I don't really care if people like my podcast or not because I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for the guest.
Yeah.
But if somebody said they didn't like my book, I'd be a little more,
Oh, yeah.
well, it's just pure me. I mean, but at the same time,
Like,
if you don't like it,
999,000 people did.
Yeah, like if you don't like it, then you can return it.
No, don't say that. You
don't
bought
have
it
to
and
read
handed it
it
to somebody
again.
else.
Like, yeah. I mean, at the same time, I don't let it bother me either because
Yeah.
well, that's fine. Not everybody's going to like it. I mean, if you sell 100,000 books, that's a lot of books.
Yeah.
Think about how many people there are in the world. There 3 billion people, 4 billion people in the world. There's a whole lot of people.
No, it's like 7.2.
Yeah, so it's even more. So I mean,
Yeah.
you sell 100,000 books. That's a huge milestone.
If you did it in Mandarin and Cantonese, you got a 1.7 billion right there in China.
Yeah. So I mean,
but India's catching up. So there you go. Write it in Hindi. Got to publish in Hindi.
I look at it in the grand scheme of things, like, if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm not going to force you to, and but I'm not doing it for you either. And
well, I'm sure I'm going to like it. So
yeah, I hope so. I mean, even if you don't like the whole thing, I hope there's something that you take from what you read, you take away.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it. I mean, if people read the whole thing or all 230 pages, I think it is,
Yeah.
you know, I hope you take away something from one of those pages because that was why I wrote it. I didn't
Right.
write it so that you'd read the whole thing. There's going to be things in there people disagree with me on. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know,
But
there's gonna be
I mean, that has an impact as well.
sure.
That's what people
I mean,
don't get. It's not telling your stories, and not about people. Oh, he lived his or her life just like I would. Well, that's validating. No, the opposite
no.
reaction is
If anything, I hope that
learning
people
opportunity.
who maybe disagree with me on something reach out, and then I'd like to invite them on to like the podcast or like a live show. Like, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Why do you disagree with what I had to say? And let's just have a conversation because you
Yeah.
might get a more explanation from me as to my side,
Yep.
and you might say something to me that opens my eyes to your side. So
Well, that
we
is
might
so
be able to
missing in the
do
world
something.
too.
Yeah, exactly. So I
I
mean,
hate that.
I hope that people read it and take away stuff, or if they don't, they reach out because then I think we could have pretty awesome discussion. Of course, you're going to have your trolls on Amazon to say 1 star. This guy's thinks too much of himself or something like that. It's like, okay,
Well,
you
yeah.
obviously didn't read the intro, buddy.
Right. Well, and if they read it, they'll get. I feel that most people who are trolls and have negative attitudes did not really read it, listen to it, whatever your thing is, and they just like hearing themselves and pontificating, and they have a very narrow view of the world. I mean, I miss that. When I was a kid, I was in forensics. I don't know if you know forensics, not like CSI. Forensics was a weird form of debate where they would give you like obviously in all debate you get a for and against, so that's the subject, but forensics would be do it in the style of Shakespeare, or you have to do it in haiku, or do it in a 40s mystery drama, stuff like that. So that I mean, I liked acting and stuff, so that's a lot of fun. But back in the day, my day as a youngster, it seemed like people were more open. It's not an argument, but they were having deep conversations where even if you were diametrically opposed to the other side, you found like a middle ground. So even if you didn't change your opinion, they were civil enough and you could have a healthy debate. It's like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. I still don't agree with you, but I see where you're coming from. I get it. Okay.
But you could agree to disagree.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, now it's a lot of it's like
you're wrong.
They had weapons, everybody dead. Oh, well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's.
Am I wrong, or did I just have a different opinion?
Yeah. And with so much stuff in the world today that is kind of a sensitive subject, you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time because you can't agree to disagree. Like all these genders out there, I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't understand the premise behind it, but I keep my mouth shut about it because what good is me going out there and saying there's only 2 genders, you guys are all wrong? It's gonna get me nowhere. Absolutely nowhere, because I'm talking about something I don't fully understand. Now, what it would be smart of me is to say, I don't understand this. Somebody take the time, if you would, explain to me the thought process behind it. I don't have to agree with it, but I can understand it and understand where they're coming from, because at the end of the day, individuals are expressing themselves the way they choose to. And that's what freedom is all about. So,
well, and unfortunately, most people are not like you, and unfortunately, a lot of them are politicians.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong there, man.
Yeah, I mean, people go
not wrong there.
People go like, well, what are you? I mean, when they're talking politics, like, well, okay, here's in a nutshell what I am, and you're gonna stop listening within 2 seconds.
I always tell people, say,
governmentally libertarian.
Yeah,
I believe less is more. Government should handle 4 things: infrastructure, fiduciary, judiciary, and military protection and transportation. That's it. That's all they should be involved in. And they need to tax us to the level so we can do that shit. Then fiscally, I'm conservative. I don't think even government shouldn't spend more than they take in. So figure that out. They're never gonna, but they should. And then socially, I'm liberal. I'm like, hey, you know what? you're doing something and I don't agree with it, as long as it doesn't impact me physically, mentally, emotionally, I don't care.
Yeah,
I mean,
do
it's
your
just kind
thing.
of like what you said before. It's like, I don't get it, but I don't care. Do what you want, man. You're an adult.
Well, yeah, and because I don't walk around because I'm married to a female, you know, that traditional marriage that some people
Yeah,
say
yeah,
is traditional marriage. I don't walk around telling people I'm married to a woman. I'm married to a woman. I'm married to a woman.
right,
You know, I don't rub it in anybody's face because it's nobody else's business.
right,
So I don't try to force my opinion or my thoughts or my life upon anybody else. And I wouldn't expect anybody to do it to me. If you
right,
choose to be married to another man or be married to another woman, that is totally your objective. That is your decision. That is your
right.
life. You do it. I'm not going to judge. Are you happy? At the end of the day, are you happy? Are
Yeah,
you contributing something positive to the world? Cool, go do that and buy my book. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about because what would change if you met somebody and you got to know them and then all of a sudden they told you I'm married to the same sex? What changes?
nothing.
Exactly, nothing changes. They're still the same person.
Right.
You just learned something a little
A
more
lot of people don't
personal
get
about
that.
them.
That's the weird thing to me.
No, I mean they may like Dr. Pepper and you like Coke. You
Oh
know,
my God, not Dr.
yeah.
Pepper.
What changes? It just means when you come over to their house, you have to bring your own beverage. Like nothing changes about them, and that's what
Right,
kills me about people. Is like, just like you said, like I'm a Republican. I've always voted Republican. I believe in a lot of things the Republican Party does. Not everything.
right,
I don't. I believe that some of the things that the Democratic Party has to say is worth listening to. Not everything.
right,
And it's not enough to get me to, go re-register as a Democrat. But that doesn't
right,
mean that I have a hard stance and say everything the Republicans say is legit.
right.
That's not the
Yeah, I
case at
mean, I'm
all.
independent, so every candidate I judge on, it's like, okay, yes, they agree with me the most, so I'm going to vote for them,
Sure.
regardless of
Yeah,
what they are.
I think I'm
I
kind of
even
like
voted
you.
for a Green Party once, even though I hate the Green Party.
I'm like you. I think
Like, well,
less government
hmm,
would be better. It would
yeah,
allow us to live our lives and be free, and we could have more engaging conversations like what me and you are having now, where we're
yeah,
talking about some sensitive subjects, but nobody's mad at each other.
yeah.
There's no bad comments in the
Well, like
comment
my
box,
IRS
and
thing. This is
yeah, it's just part of
typical.
your
My
life.
government ticks me off. It's like,
Yeah,
why can't, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like flat tax and they go, well, it punishes the poor. It's like, okay, have a threshold and underneath that have the graduated, but above that threshold, just make it a percentage. No write-offs, no nothing. That I wouldn't be in this situation if that existed. It's yeah, because I'd be, oh, cool. They took out what they're supposed to take out. All right. And then my investment, they took out what they're supposed to take out. Cool. Not,
yeah.
oh, we changed the law. And so at the time of your investment, when you accrued your first initial whatever, we tax it this way, but then we grandfathered back. So now you owe this on that year when you got this. I'm like, how's that fair? I mean, I know life's not
Simplify
fair.
the laws, man,
That's
and
my
just
never, yeah. That's
keep
my
the
number
tax
one
the way
lesson
it
by my
is.
dad. Life's not fair.
Yeah, and it makes me angry because they say, "Well, let's tax the rich. They make so much money." Yeah, but they're using all the loopholes you wrote in the tax code.
Yeah, it's so
So I mean,
complicated. I mean,
you,
I'm not in the top 10%, 15%, 20%. I don't know where I am, but I'm not one of the one percenters.
sure.
And even at my level, my taxes is way too complicated. I have to
I
hire an
know.
accountant because I don't get it.
Oh,
They
this was my
go,
last year doing it
yeah,
myself. Next year, now that my wife's working full time and she's making the big money that she's making, I got to have an accountant do it and give me some
yeah,
ideas on tax breaks. Like I got to have them do it because I just cannot do it
yeah,
anymore. It's just that's fine. That is what it is, man. And it's just it's part of
yeah,
life. And I think it's good to have conversations like this where we can kind of admit to some of those things and show that you're human and
yep,
we all have our challenges and
yeah. So crap happens to all of us.
yeah, sure does.
Not what happens to you, it's what you do with it.
Absolutely.
Don't live in the past. Don't live in the future. Live in the present. Learn from your
Mhm.
past. Plan for your future. Take action today to help you with that future.
Oh yeah, you nailed it. Spot on.
Spot on. So we're coming near the end of the hour. So I wanted to give you an opportunity, last 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever you want, talking about the book, tell people how they can get it. What I should have done is got a picture of the book, then I could promote it and stuff. Oh,
I can send you one.
All right.
I can send you something.
All right. Let me look. Yeah. So, anyways, it's Here Leads Truth. Jeff's can talk about it in a second. Jeff's a solid guy. He, like I said, he's been my North Star for about 18 months. We have similar goals. No matter who starts, he always gets to the finish line first. Because he's just more, logical and like step by step. And I'm like, all over the place. Yeah, it sounded a little like Jerry Lewis there for a second.
Yeah, but look what all you've accomplished, man. You have all these different live shows. I don't have that. I mean, you did something really bold with music, and I didn't do that. So, I mean, in a way, you kind of beat me to the table to doing some of those things, which I think is awesome.
Well, thank you, sir. That means a lot to me.
And I love what you're doing with the music stuff. Like I said, man, I think that's cool. It's something that nobody else is really doing right now, and I think you need to turn it into a podcast.
Yeah, and that's the one though. So the only reason, and it is an excuse, I guess, but the reason I haven't yet is, I mean, you've watched an episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I play the song, and then during the song, and maybe you have a recommendation. So during the song, I have a lot of text going on. It's like, hey, Ice Cube wasn't born in Compton; he was born in Crenshaw, and blah blah blah. And guess what? He has a degree in architectural drawing, and he applied it to this, and he did all these things. But that's all text. So how would you do that in a podcast? Should I just cut that song out, or just leave the song and then, I don't know. That's the reason I haven't converted that one to a podcast yet.
You could probably do the song as the intro for maybe 30 seconds or so, and then you could kind of fade it out as you start talking. Say, hey guys, welcome. Today's artist is Ice Cube. We're going to throw some facts to you about Ice Cube, and you kind of just start talking about it a little bit.
So in essence, that would be cutting out just do a little short blurb of the song, because I basically repeat everything. For those that have been there, I sort of repeat everything that's in the text.
Yeah, you could just cut the text out and just start talking.
But I like the whole song though. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Did you send it to me?
I'm going to. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll just post it after the fact, like in the replay, and also kind of, hey, pointing people to the replay, and hey, here's how you get the book. But anyway, so now we're down to like 2 minutes. Well, I mean, I can go as long as you want, but I was trying to keep it to an hour. So in the last few minutes, just kind of push it one more time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm presenting the author of Hear These Truths, Jeff Clark. So you're in Okie now? I mean, you're back in.
I'm back in Oklahoma. Yeah.
Okay. I'm back in Oklahoma. Watch out for the tornadoes. It's Jeff Clark. Go.
Yeah, we have had some weather. That's for sure. I'm sending you some of the artwork right now. Hopefully you can use it. But yeah, back in Oklahoma, we're kind of getting things settled. We've been here not quite a year yet. So the book is coming out the 3rd of June. We're going to have a party the 4th of June at a brewery here in town. And we're just kind of, chopping away at it. I hope you guys go and pick it up. You can go to my website, jeffclarkofficial.com. There's links to order on the website. You can check all my social media too. Those links are on the website as well. So the website is a one-stop shop. You can find everything. The link on the website now for the book goes to Tactical 16 Publishing's website, where you can buy the book right now. It's strictly in a pre-order status until probably that first week of June, and then it'll be cut off. And there you see the cover right there. You can see it a lot better. That's an actual mock-up of what it'll look like, and it's a great book. I think it's going to help out a lot of people. It's going to open up a lot of eyes. It's really about building your leadership based off of some of the things that I did and some of my concepts and quotes and things I lived by that kind of got the success that I had. This book is really about humbly showing and sharing with other people those things that got me success, and in a motivational way to say you can do it too. Take some of this that works for you, try it out, and find your own success. And of course, let me know about it. I mean, if you
Yeah.
find success in some of those things or in some of those other things or things that you do, I want to hear from you. And
all that
really what it's
information will be
about.
on the cover or in the forward, right?
Yeah, the intro. I think it's a fairly long intro to the book where I kind of explain, a little bit about my background, why I did this, and what I hope people get from it, and that this is my cup, my cup of soup of things, and I hope you take a little sip of it and get something from it, and if not, that's okay, and or if you drank the whole cup, then that's great too. So I just really want to help people.
Yep. And knowing Jeff for as long as I have, I can affirm that we're going to continue this show. This will be my writing show. So we'll have soon to be published or published authors. We'll talk about the writing process, the publishing process, have people promote their book, talk about their book, talk about their life, because I think everyone's life and story informs their writing. And that's also why all of you should be releasing your inner creative kraken, whether it's writing, it's music, it's video. Get your story out there because you can impact others. And I'll just put this up, even though it's from Tune Into Life moniker. I just love this. It's living your best life creates a better world for everyone. And I think Jeff is living his best life. He is impacting the world. When his book is released, he'll impact it even more. And then as he lives, he'll just impact not only his nuclear family, but everyone. And I'm a big fan of Jeff Clark, even though I haven't read his book yet. I'm a fan of him as a person, and I'm sure it'll be a great book. I pre-ordered, and I didn't even know I was going to get a coin. Can you show the coin again? I'm going to get a coin because I pre-ordered, and I didn't know that, so I'm excited. That's how much of a geek I am. I'm going to get a Jeff Clark coin. That's pretty awesome.
It says always forward, never behind. That's kind of my motto that I've lived by. And then you get the algorithm on the back. Effort plus process equals progress.
Cool.
Limited edition. Only 100 of these bad boys exist. So
all right, I'll have it right next to my hockey puck from
I'm only giving away, out of those 100, I think I'm only giving away 90 of them because I've given about 10 of them out to family. But yeah, man, this is it. This is the
family schmamly.
Yeah. So yeah, get yours. Pre-order yours now. You get that free shipping. You get it autographed at no additional cost, and you get the coin. So yeah, pretty awesome.
It'll be a first edition too, so we don't know what that will be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about these NFTs. Well, guess what? A first edition of a book that later makes on and goes to make it really big. That's worth something too. So
yeah, it's true.
This is a fungible token.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, I want to really thank you for being my friend, being in my life. He always responds whenever I contact him. Thanks for being on the show. I'm excited about the book. I'm looking forward to my copy. I guess I'm going to set this expectation so I get too excited. I'll look for my book in about 3 weeks because I know it's being released in 2, but we don't know how the signing and all that goes. But yeah, I'll look for my book in 3 weeks, and I know you're waiting for it, and I'll read it and I'll give you a review in 4.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'm open for discussion on it, and I hope people enjoy it. And yeah, I hope that I can get them out to people by the 3rd. I hope that I get the books and I can get them signed and I can get them shipped and in people's mailboxes on the 3rd or the 4th, so that they have them and they don't feel like that's the one thing I hate about ordering special editions of books is that you get it 4 or 5 days after everybody else. It's like, well, hold on. This was a special edition. Why am I getting it late?
Right.
So
that's worth the wait. I mean, people should understand that.
Yeah.
Just set the expectations.
Man. Appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. It's always good to catch up and chat. And I really admire what you're doing. So I want you to know that I really admire the different shows you're doing. And I wish I had more time in the day to jump on and participate. But I do catch some of the restreams. And you keep doing it, man. Keep going at it because I really admire what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. I admire it's the Mutual Admiration Society. Yeah, I admire everything you do as well.
Thank you, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care.
All right. It's been Spontaneous Combustion. Come back at a later time.